of just having a lovely conversation with a young woman who's really struggling with being able to trust herself around food, as I'm sure you can relate, feeling out of control, very analytical. She referenced, the guilt and the shame around eating and this sense of like, oh, I'm just not normal with food, but why am I struggling with something that's just seemingly normal? I shouldn't be struggling with this. She was saying that I just want to be able to eat when I'm hungry, and eat delicious food and take care of myself and eat enough to feel satiated. I don't want to be overfull because that would be distracting. I just want to feel satisfied and comfortable. And she was referencing how she doesn't need a rule book and all of the analysis to walk. And she's like, I don't think about walking, but I just go and I trust myself to walk and I enjoy my walks. And I want my way of eating to be like that. So because of it, she just had this conversation with Em, and she left that conversation with a lot of clarity, a lot of validation and practical steps that she can take, and all around just feeling more confident and more clear about her struggles and what to do next. And so because of that, I want to try a format of video which I've never done before, which is I'm making this video for you, Em. I want to go back over and recap our discussion, all the insights and breakthroughs that you made, so that you have this as a reference point to really solidify the important things that you've learned and understood, and at the same time knowing that this would be helpful for other people, most likely. But I'm going to be speaking to you, Em. So the first thing that we did is I said, okay, now that you know what you want to be able to eat when you're hungry and make delicious food and for it to be an afterthought. I said, I'm going to be deliberately on purpose antagonistic now and ask you, why not just do that then? Why not just eat when you're hungry and make delicious food and not think about it too much? Because that will help to draw out what's going on under the surface that's making this difficult, and we really want to get that out so that we can look at how you might want to address that. And then you're explaining that you've been really trying to remove the shame from eating, trying to give yourself this sense of abundance, no restriction with food. But you said what you're finding is that actually now you're just overeating, as you put it, or binge eating on things like cookies instead, and you're still thinking about food all of the time. If the solution for everyone were as simple as now just eat whatever you want when you want, then it would be that simple and no one would struggle. It's the same thing, it's a very similar thing when people are like, we've got an obesity problem. So the advice is just eat less and move more, or it's just calories in, calories out. If that worked, then it would work. The issue is that it's very, very incomplete advice for so many people. So that's when I asked you, okay, this state of all in, you can eat whatever you want when you want. What's not working about that for you? What's missing? And that's where you let me know that the trust isn't there with yourself still. And you mentioned that you're trying to feign trust. And you're saying, well, if I'm honest, I still do have shame around my emotional eating. My emotional eating started right back in childhood, and I haven't got rid of my emotional eating, and I feel very ashamed when that comes up, like I really should be past this problem by now. And you went on to have the wonderful insight that because you don't trust yourself, you're forced into a state where you are analysing and you're accidentally creating rules for yourself. And you gave the example of something that happened to you recently as you've been trying to learn about intuitive eating. You came across this professional, I believe, online, or this woman that teaches about intuitive eating, and you said that her approach was intuitive eating with structure. And you said that she was relaying that if you want to do intuitive eating, then here's your checklist. Make sure that you're hungry before you eat, make sure that you're in a calm state before you eat, so on and so forth. And you were mentioning how you initially were like, I really like this structure. That's the way that my brain works, and I can really vibe with this, and this is going to be really helpful. And then you said that you noticed that you're going through this checklist, and I think the phrase that you used is, now I'm having a therapy session with myself before I eat anything. Like, am I hungry enough yet? What's going on for me? What am I feeling? And analysing that. And you relayed that having that structure and then turning it into rules was just fueling this analysis and anxiety and confusion. And so you were recognizing that your temptation and your default in terms of turning things into rules, and how that's fueling the very problem which you don't want to have. And that's when I said to you, it sounds to me like you're searching for the right thing to do and the right way of being. Is that accurate? And you said that that was accurate. And so I asked you to consider if you're doing that, searching for the right thing to do, searching for the right way of being because you care about yourself, because you want to do right by yourself. And you said that that really resonated and that was a big breakthrough for you, because up until now, you've been under the impression that you're deliberately torturing yourself, which is a really, really common misconception in my experience when we're struggling with our relationship with food and we're analyzing things and we're restricting ourselves and et cetera, and it feels like hell when you're in it. And it's a really common misconception to think I'm deliberately sabotaging myself, or I'm doing this to punish myself, or I'm doing this because I don't like myself. And that's when I gave you what I call my ruler analogy, which I'm going to run through with you again, because this really helped you to make a lot of sense of why you've been struggling and why other people don't struggle. So imagine that I hold up to you a ruler, and it goes from red to yellow in a seamless gradient of color. And of course, at some point there, it moves through orange to go from red to yellow. And imagine I asked you, can you show me where you think orange appears on this ruler? And you'd probably be like, kind of, like around here. And you'd be able to answer that quite intuitively without much second thought. It's kind of around about here. Fab. And now imagine that we change a couple of things. And look how this changes your experience of it. Imagine, do the same thing. I hold up a ruler and I'm like, okay, there is a place, a specific millimeter on this ruler where orange first appears. And you need to find that specific place. And if you do find it and you get that correct, then you're gonna get $1 million. And if you get it wrong or incorrect, I'm gonna take all of your money and any potential for you to earn any more money in the future. What do you think is going to happen now? You're going to agonize over this, right? And seemingly get super over analytical about it, and you're going to be anxious. And what in the first experiment took a very brief moment for you to say, that's where orange shows up, is now going to take you weeks if you're even able to do it at all. It's changed everything by adding in these two key variables. One, I'm saying that there is a correct place where orange shows up. And we brought in some high stake consequences for getting that exactly right. And I have sent you off on a wild goose chase because there isn't actually a place where orange first appears. A part of the reason why you're struggling in your relationship with food is because you've been under the illusion that there is one right way of doing something, a one right choice or a perfect choice that you're searching for when it doesn't actually exist. And there are high stakes for you about getting it right or wrong. So you're endlessly going off on a wild goose chase with the anxiety and the analysis. Whereas someone that has a healthy relationship with food, they don't have this narrative of there's a right way of eating or a right choice to make. And they don't have these high stakes. And they can more intuitively be like, that feels right to make that choice. That feels like where orange first shows up. Going back to the ruler analogy, if you asked 100 people, be like, intuitively, where does orange show up? You can get 100 slightly different answers, right? But they're all good. And similarly, if you've got 100 people, all with a healthy relationship with food, and you put them in the same situation, they're all going to choose slightly different. They're all going to make slightly different choices with food, and yet they're all good. Whereas you have this narrative and this very real sense that there is a right choice to make, and there's some high stakes involved. You kind of nodded at this point, and I asked you, what are those high stakes that you have? And you looked at me very knowingly, like, I'm really terrified of gaining weight and I desperately want to lose weight. You knew. And so I said to you, I was like, to validate then what you're experiencing, if you take anyone with a healthy relationship with food, they don't struggle with food at all. They just eat freely without over or under eating, like they're chill. If you introduce those stakes for them, if you made them as scared of weight gain as you are, and as desperate for weight loss as you are, do you think that they would keep having a healthy relationship with food? And you said, no. They're gonna start analyzing food. They're gonna start thinking about what factors contribute to weight loss and contribute to weight gain. And then they're gonna go to the internet and be met with loads of varying advice, and then gonna get confused and overwhelmed and be on guard around food and start to set up rules, etc., etc. Now, to make it very clear, I'm not suggesting that you should just love your body and just stop fearing weight gain and stop wanting to lose weight. If you decide that you want to work on your body image, that's because it's going to be your choice and your choice only. That's not for anyone else to tell you what's best for you. And your fear of weight gain is real, and your desire for weight loss is so real. And I know that, I can see that simply by looking at all of the things that you've sacrificed to keep control of your body, right? The restriction, the going hungry, the avoiding social events, putting life on hold. You've made so many sacrifices to keep control of your body. And that tells us that what you hope to gain, or what you believe that you gain by having a certain body, is more important and more significant than all of those sacrifices. So it's real and it's a big deal to you. And I would never tell you something as frivolous as just love your body, just stop worrying about it. But what we can look at, if you think it would be helpful for you, is to explore what is it that you hope to gain by having a different body, and what is it that you feel that you lose if you don't have that body? What is it essentially that you have attached onto a certain body and made conditional on a certain body? And then when you can see that, that's then when we can explore the question, and only you get to choose, but that's then when we can explore the question of, and do you want these things to remain attached and conditional on your body? And you hesitantly said, yeah, I do. And so I asked you, what is it that's creating that hesitation for you? What is it that feels unsafe about that, or uncomfortable about that for you? And that's when you were saying, but isn't it okay though to want to look good? I don't see that as a negative thing. I don't see that as self-destructive, to want to care about how I'm put together. And I was so glad that you raised this, because this is some black and white thinking I mentioned to you that might be at play here. It is one thing to be like, I don't care at all about the way that I look, and I don't care at all about taking care of myself, and I'm not going to put in any effort. I'm just going to eat food all the time that's super processed, and I'm going to walk around with like Cheeto dust on my top and not shower. That's very different to, I care about making an effort for myself, and I care about taking care of myself. And yet my ability to live my life and do what I want to do is not conditional on me looking a certain way. Like me, for example, I want to shower in the morning and take care of my hygiene and do my hair and put on a little bit of makeup and put on a nice outfit. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the difference is if I'm having what I consider to be a bad hair day, I still go to my meetings. I still go and have fun. I still live my life as I normally would. And that really resonated with you, and you've kind of like got that and you're like, fine, I want to see what it is that I've made conditional on my body. And these are some of the things that you noted down. 1, chasing my dream life and studying abroad and having a cool creative career. Going out with people more often. Dressing nicely. I know so much about fashion, and right now I don't let myself enjoy it because I tell myself I don't have the body to wear these things. Doing nice feminine things like getting my nails done, taking care of myself. I never let myself do these things at the moment. Self-care rituals, going to the beach, going and buying a new swimsuit. And I invited you to keep going with this list and writing more things out. So there probably are a lot more things that you could note down, but we'll just pause there and recognize that this is you, what you're describing. This is like who you actually are, the things that you want to be doing, the things that you're resonating with. All of these things are you, and they're important to you. And at the moment, they are conditional on a certain body. And for you, it's been very real that the only way to be yourself, to live in the way that you want to live and enjoy your life, is achieving that body and controlling having it in your life. So it makes so much sense why you would be looking for the right choices to make that are going to help you to get there, and be very analytical and afraid of food and create these rules for yourself. It makes so much sense. And so the question is, and I relayed that this is a very personal choice. There's no right or wrong. Do you want all of these things to be conditional on a certain body? Or do you want to be able to have them and experience them regardless of where your body is sitting? And you said yes, but it's a hard thing to let go of. What my experience tells me is far more effective than trying to let it go is to build to that place. And I was saying that there's a part inside of my program I call the If I Was Thinner list, which is where clients write down everything that they've made conditional on their body, everything, they get them all out. And then we rank them from, I'm most comfortable doing this now, all the way to, this scares the absolute crap out of me doing this now. And it's usually things like being intimate with the light on, or going to the beach in a bikini that are more towards the bottom, and more towards the top might be things like getting my nails done, but it's super individual. And then the goal isn't to try to let go of body concerns, because that's just not effective. The goal is, if they're open to the invitation, is to start ticking these things off this list one at a time. And what you can imagine occurs is that by the time they've got to the end of this list here and they're doing all of these things, then it's like, but there would be no point in trying to change my body or pursue a different body and like try to control my body, because I'm already doing all of the things that I said were conditional on my body. My life wouldn't change at all. And so the urge to control body, it dissipates and kind of takes care of itself. And the searching for the right thing to do and the rule-bound thinking and the analysis and the fear around food, it starts to then disintegrate by itself. This search for the right choice to make with food goes away, and this high-stakes game also goes away, which means that they now have the space to be able to learn how to make decisions with food from a place of self-care, like someone with a healthy relationship with food does. And you said this deeply resonated with you because you were explaining an experience that you had yesterday where you were having a bad body image day, as you described it, because you binged the night before, and you wore your favorite jeans and your favorite top, and you allowed yourself to be creative, and you said something very poignant, which was what you were saying to yourself in that moment wasn't, I'm M with the perfect body. You were saying to yourself, I'm M who's super fashionable and stylish and loves fashion. I'm M that is creative. I'm M that gets done. And I said that that was so poignant because what you were doing there is you were changing where your worth, your sense of personal worth, was placed. And you said that it was a wonderful experience, and I have no doubt that it was a very freeing and wonderful and very empowering experience, and you have access to this and you can build on this. And Em raised a very valid question and concern, a very insightful question at this point, which is, okay, if I do all of this, what about emotional eating though? Would this take care of my emotional eating urges? And so if that question is popping up for you as well as you're watching this, then what I was saying to Em is, no, in my experience, this doesn't address those. That's a separate area to address. When we're developing a healthy relationship with food, we've got to compartmentalize the different areas and address them all kind of separately, and then allow all of that to come together. But that goes far beyond the scope of this video. To everyone else that's watching, if you want to chat with me, or if you're interested in exploring working together and what that might look like, then I absolutely love hosting discovery calls with you. You can reach out, we can have a chat, and we can take it from there, and I can see how I can help. You'll find a link for being able to book in for a discovery call with me down below, and maybe see you there. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.